You see, according to Vedanta, Ramante yogino iti Ramaha. Ramante yogino yasmin iti Ramaha. That is, the yogis, those who take the joy on meditating the Atman, on which they are meditating, is called Rama. Ramante, that is Atman. Durgena gantum yogya iti Durga. So, the bliss of Atman is very difficult to attain. That is why she called Durga. So, if you go beyond the name, it comes to only Atman. So, even if you chant the name of Rama, it is all right. Even if you want to chant the name of Durga, it is all right. But first come, first serve. First I ask Ishwari, so we have to. That is the Prema Murte Mansukeha or the Raghuvar Tumiko Meri Lash. Which one? Two Ram bhajans are there. So I think everybody will be supporting Ishwari. प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। पाप कटे दुख मिटे लेके राम नाम, लेके राम नाम। भव समुद्र सुखद नाव, भव समुद्र सुखद नाव, एक राम नाम। भव समुद्र सुखद नाव, एक राम नाम। श्री राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। परम भक्ति सुख निधान, नित्य राम नाम। नित्य राम नाम। निराधार को आधार, निराधार को आधार, एक राम नाम। निराधार को आधार, एक राम नाम। श्री राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। संत हृदय सदा बसत, एक राम परम इष्ट परम गुप्त परम इष्ट मंत्र राम नाम परम गुप्त परम इष्ट मंत्र राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 महादेव सतत जपत दिव्य राम नाम महादेव सतत जपत दिव्य राम नाम काशी भरत मुक्त करत काशी भरत मुक्त करत कह राम नाम काशी भरत मुक्त करत कह राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 मात पिता बंधु सखा सब ही राम नाम माता पिता बंधु सखा सब ही राम नाम भक्त जन जीवन धन भक्त जन जीवन धन एक राम नाम भक्त जन जीवन धन एक राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 पाप कटे दुख मिटे एक राम नाम पाप कटे दुख मिटे एक राम नाम भव समुद्र सुखद नाम भव समुद्र सुखद नाम एक राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 परम भक्ति सुख निधान नित्य राम नाम परम भक्ति सुख निधान नित्य राम नाम निराधार को आधार निराधार को आधार एक राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 संत हृदय सदा बसत संत हृदय सदा बसत एक राम नाम संत बसत एक राम नाम परम गुप्त परम इष्ट परम गुप्त परम इष्ट मंत्र राम नाम परम गुप्त परम इष्ट मंत्र राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 महादेव सतत जपत महादेव सतत जप महादेव सतत जपत महादेव सतत जप दिव्य राम नाम महादेव सतत जप दिव्य राम नाम काशी भरत मुक्त करत काशी भरत मुक्त करत कह राम नाम काशी भरत मुक्त करत कह राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 मात पिता बंधु सखा सब ही राम नाम मात पिता बंधु सखा सब ही राम नाम भक्त जन जीवन जीवन धन भक्त जन जीवन धन एक राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 मात पिता बंधु सखा सबहि राम नाम मात पिता बंधु सखा सबहि राम नाम भक्त जन जीवन धन भक्त जन जीवन धन दिव्य राम नाम भव समुद्र सुखद नाम भव समुद्र सुखद नाम एक राम नाम काशी भरत मुक्त करत काशी भरत मुक्त करत चक राम नाम श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम राम राम। ओम नमो नारायणाय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्य कृतौ वंदे भगवन्तौ पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभाग व्योमवद् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणा। ओम शांति। Now this can be turned like this. Because this is getting a little sweating. The Arthabhaga has asked, all that is here is the food of death, and who is that God whose food is death? So, he told the fire is the death, and that is swallowed by water, that is the death of the death. Then again, Arthabhaga asks, when a person leaves his body, these all sense organs, they go with him or not? Then he says, neti neti atraiva samavaniyante. All the sense organs, they dissolve this one. It has to come to me. You can put here. That's all right. But it should not disturb the mic. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's okay. So all the sense organs, for a man of realization, they dissolve here itself into their cause. Into their cause, the karana, that is, he asked about the realized person. So the sense organs from which they have made, they dissolve in their causes. Because the effect is not different from the cause. But the cause is always different from the effect. Even if effect is not there, cause will be there. But without the cause, there is no effect. Is it not? So, here what happens? Actually, as we know well, that the cause of whole universe is Brahman or Atman. So the man who has realized that the self, the Atman, which is within me, is not different from that Brahman, that he has experienced, not simply talking. Since he has experienced that consciousness as one and all-pervading, he has realized he becomes one with it. That means we see the reverse. Because of the sun, the water of the sea has taken this form into clouds and it is raining. Because of the rains, rivers are formed. But finally, again they dissolve in the sea. Come out of sea and they dissolve. In the same way, a realized person has come from that consciousness, or came, you can say, and when he has realized, he becomes one with it. Because we are having one space, ether. Because of the adjuncts, all the different names we get. Space of the pot, space of the house, space of the cave, like that we get different names. But if you remove the adjunct, the space is one. In the same way, a realized person, he goes beyond all the adjuncts. We already read in Kenopanishad, pranasya pranaha, manasa mano. That it is this absolute is the vital force of the vital force, mind of the mind, eyes of the eyes, and it is the ear of the ear. That means all these sense organs and vital force are getting the energy or the light or the power of action through that consciousness. So the realized person, he goes beyond this ignorance, causal body. He goes beyond the subtle body, he goes beyond the gross body. He has become one with the Absolute. Even while living, even after leaving the body. But here the question is, after leaving the body, what happens to him? So his sense organs will not go anywhere, that he has told. They become merged in him only. How? All the sense organs are the effects, so they dissolve in their cause. Here is. But for the other person who has not realized, because he is entertaining some sort of desires, because of that he has to take again and again birth. That is the difference. Face 634. Parena mrutyuna mrutyau bhakshite Paramatma darshanena yo aso mukto vidvan soyam purusho yatra yasmin kale mriyate. When, through the perception of the Supreme Self, the death is swallowed by another death, when this enlightened man who is liberated dies, do his pranas, the grahas such as speech, atigrahas such as name, which are in him in the form of impressions and which urge him to act, raise up from him the dying knower of Brahman, or do they not? That means, do they raise up from him or not? He says, they dissolve in him. Atavodham asmat brahmavido mriyamanat pranaha vagadeyo graha namadayascha atigraha vasana rupa. Again he is telling what are these grahas and atigrahas. He says that all the things are only impressions of the mind. Previously also we have discussed that world is not there outside. It is within your mind. What you think that you will be, what you think before that, there you will go. So blank the mind. There should not be any impression. It has to be dissolved. That's why he says all these grahas and atigrahas, they are vasana rupa antastha. They are inside him, in the mind. Prayojakaha kramanti urdham uta utkramanti ahosvi neti. They leave him or not. Now, when you say a realization, when he will, when there is no impressions in his mind, then only he will realize or experience the highest. I told Brahmakara vritti, that is, I am one with Brahman. The mind, in the mind, that one particular impression should dominate, and that also dissolves after some time. No impressions in the mind. The pure mind is not different from Atman because it gets dissolved. We know the famous example of Sri Ramakrishna. The salt dal went to fathom the depth of sea, dissolved. But here, the question is whether these all sense organs, the 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, and these 5, say, vital forces, the intellect and the mind, will they rise or they will not rise? So the answer is, for a realized person, they will not rise. They dissolve in him itself. That is the answer. Neheti ho vacha, neti ho vacha, yajnavalkyo, na utkramanti, atraiva asminneva, parena atmana avibhagam gachanti. With with vidipi with vidipi karyani vidushi. Acha. Here this printing is not all. Vidushi karyani karanani cha swayono parabrahma satatve samavaniyante. No, that means the subtle body, rather to say, which is having 5 senses of perception, 5 senses of action, vital force, intellect, mind, all these things. The subtle body will not rise. No, they do not rise up. There alone, in the Supreme Self itself, they becoming one with it, attain identity, that is to say, the sensory organs and objects become merged in the enlightened man himself. He says, you see, the sensory organs are made up of matter, and the objects, they are made up of matter. How they dissolve in consciousness? They are not outside. They are in the form of impressions in the mind. That's why it's called vasana. For a man of realization, there is no desire, no impressions. That's why, though we say here, the objects, sensory organs and objects become merged. Objects are not outside. Everything is in your own mind. So, when you cleanse your mind, you will realize within your own self. So don't think that the objects have dissolved into the Brahman or the organs. They are in the form of impressions in the mind. Objects become merged in the enlightened man himself, in their cause. From the subtle elements, these sense objects and mind are formed, and these subtle elements, they dissolve in their cause. That's what he says. Samavaniyante eki bhavena samavasrujyante praliyante ityartha. Urmaheva samudre. The waves, they rise in the sea and again dissolve in the sea. In the same way, everything gets dissolved. He says, in the enlightened man himself, in their cause, the reality of Supreme Brahman, where in the reality, even as the waves become merged in the ocean. Tatha Sutyantaram Kala Sabda Vachanam Prananam Parasmin Atmani Pralayam Darshayanti Evamevasya Paridrashtur Ima Shoshakala Purushayanaha Purusham Prapyastam Gachanti. And accordingly, another Shruti shows the absorption of the organs called Kala, parts, 16 parts, in the Supreme Self, in such words as, so also the 16 parts of all perceiving Purusha, which have Purusha for their goal, disappear on attaining the Purusha. Here he says, these 16 parts which have come from the Atman or Purusha, which have Purusha for their goal, disappear. Disappear, dissolve. So what are these 16 parts? Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandhaha. Vishayani. Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Sound, touch, form, and taste, and then smell. These are the objects of our 5 organs of perception. And we are having 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, and then 1 mind. They become 11, and this is 5 objects. Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa. Vayavasya. Vayavasya, the prana. Pancha. So the 5 pranas and ekadasi indriyani. 11 plus 5 becomes 16. Pancha Shodasha Kalaha. But he says the sense organs with their objects, not only sense organs, with their objects. So these 11 sense organs are having their own objects, and 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, 1 mind, and they are all objects, and 5 pranas become 60. So these all things are formed by subtle elements. The elements is nothing, they are not different from matter. So they formed out of the elements, and they become and they dissolve in their subtle form, in the cause. Good. Iti parena atmana. What is there next? Parena atmana avibhagam. Avibhagam gachanti iti darshitam. Parena atmana avibhagam gachanti iti darshitam. In this manner, the identification with the Supreme Self has been shown. Now you are seeing a part. You have kept it as it is for many years. What you see, it is becoming dust. You need not break it. It is becoming dust and it disappears. What happened? The effect has dissolved in the cause. In the same way, here the effect of the subtle body has dissolved into its cause. What is the cause? The Supreme Self has been shown. In this manner, their identification with the Supreme Self has been shown. Does he not die then? He says, Nahi mrutaha, nahi mrutasyayam yasmat sa uchvayati uchrunatam pratipadyate admayate bahyen vayana purite dhritivad adhyatmo mrutasete nischestaha. After, say, the dissolving, what happens? The body alone dies, for it swells. If you leave a dead body, it swells and is distended with air. It is filled. It is filled with external air, like a pair of bellows, and lies dead. You see, here I don't know. Most of the poor people, their particular caste is there. We call in our language Lambadis. They are mostly from Rajasthan or somewhere. So what they do, they just take a cart with them. All the things are there in their cart. Gypsies. Hmm? And just they acquire a area by side of the road and put a tent, and there they start their business. What they do, they dissolve these old iron materials and make new instruments. So, for melting the iron, they need fire, charcoal. Though the charcoal, the flame, the fire, to make it more, they use the bellow, like this. What it is doing? It is absorbing the air, and it is swollen. And afterwards, they close it, and simply, slowly they press. Then the air goes into the fire, and it glows more. That is called bellows, and lies dead. So from outside, the dead body has taken the air, it has swollen, lies dead, motionless. The meaning of the passage is that when bondage is destroyed, the liberated man does not go anywhere. That when bondage is destroyed, through bondage he got through the senses and their objects, graha and atigraha. And ignorance, when it is destroyed, that's why you see here knowledge, jnana devatu kaivalyam. With the knowledge, they say bodha, bodham prati viditam. In Kenopanishad we read. So, you are having that experience. First you know, afterwards you have experience. Here he says, when bondage is destroyed through knowledge. Now what is knowledge? That I am Brahman. How you get it? By destroying the impressions of your mind. So getting attached to the mind, to the sense organs, to the body is bondage. But here we always praise the knowledge. When you see a snake on the rope, with the knowledge of the rope, the knowledge of snake is destroyed. Afterward, what you are going to do? Nothing. So, in the same way, when you get the knowledge that world is unreal and I am not this body or senses or the mind, you have known. But that you have to experience. I am that all-pervading consciousness which is everywhere in everybody. So without having the knowledge, you cannot strive for it. You cannot do practices. So, how to get rid of this cycle of births and deaths? Through knowledge. Only the knowledge will release you. The others, say the devotion, the yoga, or the karma yoga, they lead you to the knowledge. I gave an example previously also. See, there is a dark room. So they wanted to remove the darkness, which is called ignorance. So some people are doing bhajan, sitting there. Darkness says, I will not leave. And somebody started doing pranayama, making so much of sound. Then also darkness says, I am not going to leave. Then somebody started doing some action. They take so many brooms and they wanted to beat. Then also the darkness says, I will not leave. But as soon as you bring a lamp of light, so the darkness is ignorance and the lamp of light is knowledge. See? That's why all the scriptures say, through knowledge alone, you can realize and you are released from bondage. You may accept or you may not accept. This is the theory. Bandhana nashe muktasya na kvachit gamanam iti vakyartha. So when the bondage is destroyed, you are not going anywhere or not coming to anywhere. Muktasya kim prana eva samavaniyante pranaha eva samavaniyante ahosvit tat prayojagamapi sarvam. Do the organs alone of a liberated man becomes merged, or does everything that adjusts him to act also becomes merged? Atha prana eva nat tat prayojakam sarvam. He says, if only the organs but not everything that adjusts him to act, then since the cause exists, there is a possibility of the organs becoming active again. He is questioning. Atha prana eva nandat prayojakam sarvam prayojake vidyamane punah prananam prasangaha. If only the organs, but not everything that adjusts him to act. So, how you are urged with the for action? First you develop a desire, then you act accordingly. So, if the desire is there, dissolving is not there. There is the possibility of organs becoming active again. And if everything such as desire and action becomes merged, then alone is liberation possible. That's why the desire and the action, mind also dissolve. That's why from the beginning we have been hearing the mind is nothing but an inert matter, just like this gross body that is subtle and this gross body is gross. That's all. It is only matter. The assuming question is mean to make this point clear. प्रयोजके विद्यमाने पुनः प्राणानां प्रसंग अथ सर्वमेव काम कर्मादि the desire and the actions ततो मोक्ष उपपदि इत्येवम् अर्थ उत्तर प्रश्नः. Again he is asking, याज्ञवल्क्येति होवाच यत्रायं पुरुषो मृते किमेनं न जहाति इति नाम इति अनंतं वै नामानंता विश्वे देवाः अनंतमेव सतेन लोकं जेति. Now again this Arthabhaka is asking, when this man dies, what is it that does not abandon him? The name indeed is infinite, and infinite are the Vishve Devas. By means of this perception, he wins a world that is infinite. So, name. Yagyavalkyate hote yatrayam purusho mrite kimenam na jahati iti ahaitara nameti. When Yagyavalkya was asked, when this man dies, what is it that does not abandon him? The other replied, name. The implied sense is that everything becomes merged, but not the name, the sound. We say, before creation nothing is there. From nothing, nothing cannot come out. This whole creation has come out, so something should be there. That we call the consciousness. But this name never dissolves. The creator Brahman remembers all the names, and because of his willpower, all the things are created. That's why the Vedas, that is why the Vedas are eternal, as a sound, as a name, Nitya. Now you say, once you say that this creation has come out of Brahman, now you are telling that Vedas are eternal, the sound is eternal, the name is eternal, from that this creation has come. Why there is a difference? Because the name and the Brahman are not different. Suppose, if I call a name Krishna, it is only a name. But what it presupposes? A form. That is why the name is eternal. As soon as he starts creation, he just remembers the names of a particular jati, that is a particular creed or something. Then that particular creed is, or the animals, or the human beings, or the gods are created. So we should be understanding what is eternal. Brahman is eternal. Name and form, no doubt. Huh? Because Shruti says. Huh? See, I told Before creation, nothing is there. From nothing, nothing will come out. Brahman is there. So he is the cause of the creation. Before creating, he remembers the name. In that way, it is eternal. Only Brahman is there. So he has taken the form of, say, Brahma. First you see, why he has to create? Can't he sit quietly? What necessary is there to put so many people in trouble? Huh? He says, see, the human beings are the creatures. They don't know, they don't remember the actions they did. But every action is having an equal and opposite reaction, the fruits. The fruits are to be given. And they don't know what actions they did. And he is the only person who knows. So to give the actions, he has to create. How he will create? First he takes out his power, that is illusion, Maya. Then he becomes Ishvara. Then he becomes the combined subtle forms, because the subtle forms are already there. They have not dissolved because they have not realized. Then Hiranyagarbha has come out, Sutratman. From that Virat has come out, the combined gross bodies, which we call Vishwarupa in Gita. From there the Brahma has created, the creator and the sustainer and the destroyer. So how he creates? Brahma remembers all the names. Nothing is there. Only water and water everywhere. So he remembers the names and he starts creating. So this is the process. So first, only Brahman is there. That is Satkaryavada. It is called. Before creation, something is there. From nothing, nothing will come out. As they say that everything is void, nothing is there. So how can you create from nothing? Magician should be there to show the magic. Without the magician, there is no magic. Is it not? So in that way, there are no two real things. Ekam sadvipra bahuda vadanti. One Brahman is there. In the process of creation, he remembers the names, which are already there in this previous kalpa age. Because he is all-pervading, he knows everything, he just remembers. By his remembering, everything has been created. But there is no meaning in creation. He will tell in some other way, somebody will tell in some other way, it has been created like this. What is real? Brahman is real. So, you should give up the unreal portion, that is matter. What he has created? He has created this whole universe, which is nothing but matter. So you should discriminate, give up the matter, and you should dissolve your mind in the reality where there is no name and form. What is there, that is there, that is consciousness. You are not different from that. In that way, you are going beyond the world, the name and form. But in the process of creation, he takes the help of the name. Some extent it is clear? In the process of creation, The Brahman, again you should understand, the Brahman is not having any form and any name. Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti sadeva somi idam agre asit. Before creation. In the process of creation, he has taken the help of Maya. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa charachara. After taking the help of Maya, he has become Ishvara, no more Brahman. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. So, while the creating, there is a name. When the creation is not there, there is no name also. Is it clear? You see, in your own self, Atman, there is no name and form, but it is there. You accept this? This consciousness is there. It is not having any name and form. For our understanding, we are telling it is Chaitanya. You cannot express it. You have to experience it. So also, before creation, there is no name and form. By the process of creation, the name and forms come out. So, comparatively, the name is real. Because, see, he has to come down so many steps. Brahman, Ishvara, the combined subtle bodies, Hiranyagarbha, then combined grass bodies, Virat, then Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. That Brahma remembers the name. So, how much he has come down? Then name he says real. Even now, in day-to-day life, we see in the world, the man who has worked for the world, who has served the world, who has done some good for the world, they remember the name. But the man is not there. So, comparatively, name is real. But when you go to the Absolute, nothing is there. In that way he is telling, Sarvam samavaniyate ityartha nama matram tu na liyate akriti sambandhat. See, here again you have to understand. Suppose cow, C-O-W, cow, or a lion. It is having a particular form. The name is not different from the form. How the creation started? When Brahma takes the name, so immediately form is created. Why? There is a deep connection between the name and form. The forms are dissolved. When you take the name, not by you but by Brahman, the difference only between an individual self and Ishvara is only this much. You cannot create, he can create, that's all. You can become one with him, then there is no individuality. So, when he remembers Satya Sankalpaha, because the form is not different from the name, the forms are created. So, from that, this formless, the forms have come. That he is saying here, the name indeed is infinite, but the name, since it is connected with the form, for name is eternal in a relative sense, but not from the absolute standpoint. This much you have to understand. Why? Since it is connected with the form, name is connected with the form. So, in general, we say all cows. Cow? But in a particular, for cow, you can say it is black, it is white, it is red, and you can give a name also. In general, we are all human beings. How much difference is there? One face is different from another face. One voice is different from another voice. The man of one conception is different from another's conception. Thinking is different. Voice is different. Form is different. But in general, we are all human beings. So, the general name, it is called Jati. That name is not different from the form. So, when the creator Brahma takes the name, that particular form is created because he is the creator. Whatever concept or notion he entertains, that becomes true. Only for him, not for us. When you realize your individuality is gone, when the river merges in the sea, there is no more river, it is only sea. The infinitude of the name is its eternity, and the Visvedevas, the possessor of infinitude, are indeed infinite. By means of this knowledge, he wants a world that is infinite. Having identified himself with the Visvedevas, the possessor of the infinitude of the name, he wins by means of this perception a world that is nothing but infinite. They say, Nityam hi nama, Anantam vai nama. If he says it is real, then he says there are many. And Nityatvam eva Anantyam namnaha. The name indeed is infinite, and the infinitude of the name is its eternity. Nityat. Tad anantya adhikrita ananta vai Visvedeva. So, and the Visvedevas, the possessors of the infinitude, are indeed infinite. Visvedeva we have already discussed in page 617. There are many. Anantameva satena lokam jeti. Tan nama anantyadhikritan visvan devan atmatvena pretya tena anantya darsanena anantameva lokam jeti. Here you see again he says, comparatively, not from the absolute point, by means of this knowledge he wins the world of that infinite. What is that infinite? Having identified himself with the Visvedevas. That means Visvedevas are there and this individual self is there. He has identified with them because the Visvedevas are infinite. He has become infinite. This is not absolute realization. That you should understand. Grahat graharupam bandhanam uktam mrutyurupam tasya mrutyu sadbhavan mokshasya upapadyate. Such a moksho grahat graharupanam ihaiva pralayaha pradeep nirvanamat. The death consisting in bondage of the nature of the grass and atigrahas has been explained. And since the death too has a death, liberation from it is reasonable. And that liberation is the dissolution of the grass and atigrahas here itself, like the extinguishment of a light. Yattat grahati grahakhyam bandhanam mrityurupam tasya yat prayojakam tat swarupa nirdharanartham itam arabhyate. It is with the view to settle the nature of the cause of the death, which consists in the bondage called the graha and atigraha. What is death? Graha and atigraha. And that this section, beginning with Yajnavalkya, said, with the Atmabhaga, he has asked, what for? He says, the grahas and atigrahas air itself like the extinguishment of a light. It is with a view to settle the nature of the cause of the death. Graha and atigraha are the death. So, what is the cause of that death? To settle that, Arthabhaga has asked this question. He says, Atra kechit varnayanti. Now, the opponent has come. So far he was sleeping. All of a sudden he rose and he is putting some question. Grahati grahasya saprayojakasya vinashepi kila namuchyate. Even after these are dissolved, graha and atigraha, he is not released. Nama avasiste avidyaya avidya usastaniya swatma prabhavaya paramatmana parichino bhodyasya jagato vyavruttaha uchchinna nama karma antarale vyavatistate. Now the opponent says, here some say, some means he is not even the Shankara is not willing to take his name also. He says some say. Because his way of thinking is not all right, not according to Vedas. Even with the distinction of graha and atigraha, together with their cause, a man is not liberated. On account of ignorance that has originated from himself and is comparable to a barren land. Usrastan. He reduced to mere name and cut off from the desire and action, remain in the intermediate stage, separated from the Supreme Self and withdrawn from the world of enjoyment. He says, because he is having a name, he says, remains in the intermediate stage, separated from the Supreme Self and withdrawn from the world. He is staying in the, because with the name he is staying in the intermediate stage. He says, Tasya Paramatma Ekatva Darsanena Dvaita Darsanam Apane Tavyam Ityataha. Now you see what he says, separated from the Supreme Self and withdrawn from the world of enjoyment. What he says, though through the perception of the unity of the Supreme Self, he has to get rid of the perception of the duality. He has to get rid of the duality. So, tasya paramatma ekatva darsanena dvaita darsanam apane tavim ityatah param paramatma darsanam arabdhavyam. Because he is in the intermediate stage and he has to overcome the duality, so the perception of the Supreme Self is to be commenced. Hence, thinking that an intermediate stage called apavarga, they correlate the ensuing passages to it. They correlate the ensuing the other passages. Paramatma darshanam arabdhavyam iti evam apavargakhyam antaralavastham परिकल्पते तस्या क्या है उत्तरगंधं संबंधं कुर्वन्ति. So they correlate with the preceding passage. Tatra vaktavyam. So the answer. No. Here, these people are to be asked how this man whose body is lost on the destruction of the organs can have the perception of the Supreme Self. See, what he has told? He has given up the grahas and atigrahas, withdrawn from the world, and he is having only the name. So now the question is, how one whose body is lost on the destruction of the organs can have the perception of the Supreme Self through hearing, thinking and meditation. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. What he says, he is in the intermediate stage and he is not having a body. And he has destruction of organs, no sense organs, no mind. Without mind, how can he have a thinking? So how can you say, without mind, he has to do Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and realize? That is why he says, Visirneshu Karaneshu Videhasya Paramatma Darsana Sravana Manana Nidhyasanani Katham. When you say that particular person is not having any organs, no sense organs, no say the organs of action, no mind, Paramatma Darsana Shravana, how can he do? How can he think? How can he hear? Because organs are not there. That is the question. Can have the perception of the Supreme Self through hearing, thinking and meditation. By them is also held in the view that the man whose organs have become merged is indeed reduced to mere name. It has also been declared by the Sruti. Sruti, the body lies dead. Mritasyate. So, Sravana Manadhyasam Samavanita Pranasya Nama Matra Avasishtasya Tairuchite Mritasyate. So, even after leaving the body, we take the name of good persons. Shivananda, Sri Krishna, Sri Rama, Anjaneya. So many names we take. Na manorathena api etad upadidam. They cannot even imagine to prove their standpoint. And if they think that a man in whom only ignorance is left while living itself can withdraw from the world of enjoyment, they should explain what the reason for it. He says, ignorance is there and he has withdrawn from the world. Organs are not there, mind is not there. How is it possible? When ignorance dissolves, when he can remove the ignorance, then only the impressions of the mind dissolves in the Atma. So, na manorathena, just by imagining. Atha jivanneva avidya matra avasishto bhodyat apavruta iti parikalpate tattu kinnimittam. If they think that a man in whom only ignorance is left while living itself can withdraw from the world of enjoyment, they should explain what the reason for it is. Then they say, samasta dvaita ekatva atma prapti nimittam iti yadi ujjate. If they say that it is due to his identification with everything dual and individual, it has already been denied. Here is say, keeping the ignorance and at the same time identifying with every individual. How is it possible? When you see the Atman in everybody, in everything, that means you have already gone beyond the pale of gross body and subtle body. You are not seeing the mind of other person. You are not seeing the organs of the other person. You are going beyond the mind. And only one consciousness you are seeing, then only you are called realized. So, one who has identified with everything, that means he is seeing the oneness. So, tat purvameva nirakritam is already been denied. Karma saitena dvaita ekatva atmadarsanena sampanno vidvan mrutaha samavanita prano jagadatmatvam hiranyagarbharupam va prapniyat. He says, it is already either the enlightened man possessed of the perception of identity with everything, dual and individual, combined with the rituals, may, when dead, his organs being merged, attain identity with the universe of Hiranyagarbha, or until such time as his organs are not merged while living itself, he may withdraw from the world of enjoyment, being dispassionate, endeavoring for the perception of the Supreme Self. Now, as you say, this person who is having ignorance can identify with Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is, we already read that three things the God kept for himself. The mind, the prana and the speech. So the combined, the is called Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha also is having a mind, he is having a vital force, he is having the speech. Oh, that you may tell. This individual who is having dispassion, discrimination, has identified with the Hiranyagarbha, but the Hiranyagarbha is not released from the world. He has to, he is a Sutra Atman is called. Mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. The subtle body of the individual self and all combined is called Sutra Atma. But it is not the ruler. The ruler is behind him, he is called Ishvara. So what you say, this particular man might have become the Hiranyagarbha, then he is not released. That's what he says. Asamavanita prano bhodya jivaneva va vyavritto viraktaha paramatma darshanabhimukha syat. That person, he wanted to realize. So, nacha ubhayam eka prayatna nishpadyena sadhanena labhyam. If the effort is instrumental in attaining the state of Hiranyagarbha, it cannot be the means for withdrawal from enjoyment. And if it is the means for the withdrawal and for the perception of the Supreme Self, it cannot be instrumental in attaining the state of Hiranyagarbha. So the attaining the state of Hiranyagarbha and the perception of the Supreme Self cannot go together, because it is the form of combined subtle bodies. That means the Hiranyagarbha is not a realized person. He is having the power. Ishvara is only a single person, because out of his own nature, he takes out the illusion and he dissolves. That's why we call him Sarvajna, Sarvavit. So this Hiranyagarbha, previously one thing I told you, so many universes are there. We are seeing only one universe, one cosmos. Is it not? In that context, I told you that Sri Ramakrishna says, in the rainy season, when you take a bath in Ganges, near Belur Mutt, Calcutta, Hooghly, you will be getting so many small, small crabs. Just if you lift water, everywhere it is running, small, small. So many cosmos, so many universes, as many crabs in this Ganges, he says. You understand? This point, I made it very clear in my last talks. Whether you remember it or not, I don't know. So, the universal Ishvara, the one, her power is called Ishvari. That Parameshwari we call. Paramasya Sav Ishwar. There is nothing beyond her. You see, the Ishvara, then the Hiranyagarbha, then the Sutratma, then Virat. Afterwards comes the creator Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. So for each universe, there is a Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. But she is the control of all the universes. That is Ishvara. So once this, the creator Brahma, Vishnu and the destroyer Shiva went to have the darshan of that Parameshwari, he is the supreme, and they took God Indra also with them. And when they went to the kingdom of Parameshwari, everywhere they are seeing so many Vishnus are moving, so many Ishwaras are moving, Shivas and Brahmas with 4 heads. They are moving. Then how to get the entrance? Then all of a sudden they see one Ganesha moving. So Shiva caught hold of him. See, please go and tell Parameshwari that we have come to have her darshan. So this Ganesha goes inside and comes and asks, from which universe you have come? They know only one universe, where from they have come. But how to identify from where we have come? Then Shiva thinks for a while and says, you see, one god Indra is with us and he has killed a demon or somebody, Vrittasura, to wash out his sins. He has come for your darshan. Then Ganesha goes and does, and again the mother sends. See, you 3 can come, but Indra cannot come inside. For his darshan only we have come. Then Indra also, only we brought him for your darshan. Then mother says, all right, you just take the dust of my building where I am sitting and put on his head. He will be purified. Then he can come inside. Why I am telling this thing? So many universes are there. We don't know. Even they are nowadays uh, they are producing so many satellites. They are sending so many satellites to search here and there. The so many other types of creatures. All these things.
Extraterrestrial life it is.
Extraterrestrial life.
Aliens.
Hmm. So many
Parallel
causes.
universes.
That.
All this is
They
there.
know it is there. So this particular Ishvara and Brahman is the ruler of all universes, and you are that Brahman. That is Vedanta. Right? Now, time is over. We have to stop in the middle. Tomorrow we'll see. Today is 24th. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Mavasishyate Shanti Shanti Ankaracharya 7:39 plus 7:46. See, nearly some 10 days we had our class, I think, and we could complete only 40 pages. Remaining 172 pages are there. So we have to speed up, at least to complete this portion, third chapter. That means nearly more than, say, 60 pages we should be able to cover in 10 days. Now we have covered only 40 pages in these 10 days. Anyhow, let me see. Otherwise, in the end, just we have to chant the slokas, explain and disperse. Let me see whether we can go with it.